Conference opponents that aren't all too familiar with one another meet in the final game of Week 1. We've got a 6-0 ATS trend here for Clemson Duke. Does it continue? Let's find out as we break this game down in full. So Clemson is 10-1 straight up the last 11 meetings with Duke, including a perfect 4-0 straight up and against the number the last 4. But I don't really care about that. Why? Because this is the first time these schools have met since 2018. It will actually be Clemson's first trip into Durham since 2012. Very shocking to hear that conference opponents have met so infrequently, but such is the case in the very large ACC. Speaking of the ACC, this is not only the fourth time in the last 5 years that Clemson is opening its season against an ACC opponent. It's the second straight year they're opening their season on Labor Day. Last year, they clobbered Georgia Tech 41-10, and they're now 3-0 straight up and against the number those previous 3 instances of opening the season against a conference foe. Coming off back-to-back 3-loss seasons, Dabo Swinney has made some key changes. The first was actually made late last year at the quarterback position, where DJU was jettisoned in favor of Cade Klubnik. Expectations are very high for Klubnik and this Clemson offense with the hiring of new offensive coordinator Garrett Riley, who ran his version of the air raid over at TCU. Of course, we all know what TCU accomplished last season. I personally love the hire of Riley. Big picture, Riley, of course, the brother of USC's head coach Lincoln. The Clemson defense, turning to the other side of the ball, slipped last year, at least by their standard, allowed a 7-year high of 20.9 points per game, which is still pretty good for most programs. But in the case of Clemson, the slippage had somewhat to do with losing coordinator Brent Venables to Oklahoma. But with 8 starters back this year and arguably one of the best D-lines, best set of linebackers, and best secondaries in the entire country, I think we're going to see the Tigers get back to business and dominating on the defensive side of the ball. Now, that being said, it's an underrated Duke squad that they'll be facing in the opener. Second-year Blue Devils head coach Mike Elko knows a thing or two about defense from his time as coordinator at Texas A&M and Notre Dame. And in his first season as a head coach, what did Elko do? He leads the Blue Devils to a 9-4 straight-up record. This was a team, guys, that was projected for only 3.5 wins heading into 2022. So a remarkable job from Elko and this Duke coaching staff last year. By far, the most important player on the field for Duke is quarterback Riley Leonard, one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the nation. He threw for nearly 3,000 yards last season and did a great job at taking care of the football, did not throw more than 1 interception in any game in 2022. Speaking of turnovers, Duke was plus 16 in turnover margin last year. That was second best in the country. They probably can't count on the ball bouncing their way so much this year. Certainly we hear about turnovers being a sticky stat. There's a lot of fluctuation, a lot of regression year to year. But the Blue Devils are 10-3 ATS, their last 13 home games, including a perfect 6-0 when the total falls between 49.5 and 56. Looking at the wagertalk.com odds screen over here, the total for this game currently sits at 55.5 or 56, depending on your book. Clemson up to a 13-point favorite after opening minus 11. Now, I'm not interested in laying the points here because Clemson is just 1-7 against the spread in the month of September the last 2 years. But I do see a little regression in store for Duke this year. Some of it's that turnover margin. Some of it is they caught a lot of people by surprise. They didn't play Clemson or, obviously, as we've talked about, they didn't play Florida State either last year. It was a fairly soft schedule for the Blue Devils. So, my official play on this game is going to be to take the under. Again, looking at the wagertalk.com odds screen, the number opened at 58, so we've already seen some action on the under. As long as you can get this total north of 55, which is the most important number in betting college football totals, by the way, I believe under is the right call here for Monday. Clemson's defense should be great. The clock isn't stopping on first downs until the final 2 minutes of each half. New rule change. And I won't be shocked if Duke has some drive-killing turnovers here in this one. Let me know if you agree with the under in the comments section. And as always, if you enjoy the content you're hearing here, do us a favor, smash that like button. If you want to be alerted with any of our betting content, go ahead and hit subscribe to our channel as we release betting picks and predictions for every sport you could think of each and every single day. And if you're interested in more trends, game breakdowns, and picks, go ahead and check out this next game video.